Hello, welcome back. You are watching an Eyewitness News special. We're coming to you live from Nazareth. You can see the ANC flag in the background. This is the ANC's 55th National Conference. My name is Tshidi, Madia, Associate Editor for Politics at Eyewitness News. We are speaking to different leaders. But before I bring in my next guest, let me give you a bit of an update on the program. It is incredibly delayed. We complained about yesterday. As it stands, they just had lunch, so you might see some movement in the background. They're going back into plenary where they're continuing with their program. I understand the organizational report has been presented. They're going to now deal with a presentation about constitutional amendments. Now, these reports ultimately have to be debated, deliberated over, and then adopted by the conference. However, not everyone is in the room yet. Even credentials, I've been warning you about credentials. That hasn't happened yet. That's what will probably keep us waiting outside. But as I said, we are speaking to different leaders in the organization. Joining me now is Mmamoloko Kubayi. She's the Subcommittee of Economic Transformation, Socio-Economic Transformation. She speaks to us now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So it has been a delay. I can't get over the delays. As a journalist, we know at an AC conference you wait. Can't get over the delay. What's your sense of what's gone wrong? We heard about registration going wrong. Is there anything else that's been holding us back, holding back the conference? A part of me thinks it's also caucuses that are just not coming together and ideas of what must
I think
happen.
it's registration. It's more registration because delegates coming from different areas. Actually, we'll hear with the credentials because somebody was saying actually this is the largest ever branch delegates in a conference of the ANC. So that would have caused some level of delays. We took a decision as the NEC to have more branch delegates than any other category voting delegates, but more from branches. So that's what would have led to that. Yeah. So, but 90% in terms of the numbers as well. So for the delays, I mean, we're catching up. I do believe that we're catching up. We had the opening session with the president last night, and then we had this morning, as we say, the organizational report, which takes long to present, and I think others will move faster. Because remember, the constitutional amendments were done and were sent to branches, is to reconfirm in terms of those. It normally doesn't take long. And then you would get the Treasurer General's report and all those. And once that, one of the things that normally takes longer is the credentials. If the secretaries have signed it off, normally as well it doesn't take long. So hoping that that work has been done. As Pule has been communicating from as a spokesperson, is quite on track. I think we all knew that, at least we were happy. I know you guys are not complaining. We were happy to have a night to go and sleep. By the way, yeah, it was a good thing because we expected that it would have been a longer night. We expect a long night tonight, and we expect a long night tomorrow.
Absolutely. I want to speak to you about the subcommittee that you are leading as your term of office comes to end. The ANC at its last conference had two strategic objectives. There was the issue about renewing the organization, but there was also an issue about the socio-economic transformation, looking at the state of the country and particular avenues, land expropriation without compensation, looking at the Reserve Bank and what needs to happen with that mandate. There were these goals that were set. Yesterday, we listened to the ANC president pretty much say that, look, we couldn't get around to dealing with a lot of the resolutions we set for ourselves. When you sit now with this particular committee and these goals, what do you then say as you navigate why and how the ANC failed its membership in delivering on some of those things? People wanted to see change as far as the Reserve Bank is concerned. There were conversations about the banks. Land was a very big issue in 2017.
Look, the issue around progress report or reports in terms of what we have done, City, will be presented even in our commissions. We did that in the policy conference. You'd understand that this term was disrupted by COVID. For almost 2 years, nothing could happen much in terms of implementation. Resources had to be diverted to somewhere else to deal with the health issues. On the land issue, expropriation without compensation amendment of the clause, we argue that we've been able to make progress in that area. In terms of implementation around the expropriation bill, it's in Parliament, was submitted as per the resolutions. The issues of, and that's why we still argue that you can expropriate for public good. I can, as Minister of Human Settlements, expropriate.
Particular departments and municipalities, yes, of course.
Yes, you can expropriate. So it's that issue. And remember the resolution as well on land talks about not killing the agricultural sector as well. So in terms of progress report that we can do, utilization and getting land from the state to utilize it to redistribute, we've been doing that. The IMC by the Deputy President has quite good report in what we have done. That's why we could talk about 14,000 hectares to human settlements for human settlements development. So those are some of the progress. On Reserve Bank, we've gone to try and implement that resolution. One of the things I continue to say, and which I said during the policy conference, is that how do we take decisions as the ANC that are market sensitive? Because immediately when the conference took that decision, because of the nature of those shareholding in how they are crafted, they called the shot on the price. And the prices went up. So it's not a price that you could determine. And if we were to expropriate those shares, it meant that we risked to be expelled from WTO. Now you have private sector, you have government, you have many people who are leaving because of exports and imports. Now if you are blacklisted by WTO, then you can't trade. So it's those evaluation of what you can do. We look at the price. Do we push as economic transformation to say, let's go and expropriate and pay this amount, and versus looking after the people who were, by the way, affected by COVID. And we had to intervene in the households and give them grants so that they can have food on the table. So it's those weighing of options and reprioritization of what we need to do. We'll give report here to say this is what we think needs to happen, this is what happened. Others still argue to say, what good does it do who owns the shares? The issues around the mandate. The Reserve Bank governor believes that it's not even a mandate, you can do a lot of things. But we'll have those conversations. Did we take the right decisions? And did we take issues that can help us? One of the areas that I was saying even as we talked, and that's why when we did the policy now, we quite involved experts in various fields, because the feedback was that you guys are taking resolutions that are unimplementable. There's one resolution now on dealing with gender-based violence, and the proposal is unconstitutional. And I'm saying, how do we even propose?
Is the one to castrate
yes.
The wrongdoers, yes.
Yeah, you can't, because the South African Constitution deems it unconstitutional. So if we take such a decision because we feel that it has to be taken, the reality is that 5 years down the line, we're going to come back and say we didn't do it because it's unconstitutional. So it's that issue.
Do you think that there'll be an understanding of that? Because you're right. I'll give you that some of the resolutions that were taken are simply unimplementable or difficult, will have a greater cost for the country. But when you're here at this conference, do you look at ANC members and think they're able to rationalize in that manner? Because part of the reasons why those particular resolutions were the way they were was because it was a factional battle. There were proxy battles of ANC factions at play that led to those resolutions. Fast track 5 years later, has there been sufficient change within the membership in being conscientized about what issues and where the country stands ultimately in trying to deliberate over what solutions need to come on the table about issues? Do you think that this current cohort understands that?
I've seen quite a number of professionals here in conference, and I do believe they will add value in the discussions. They're members of the ANC, they're leaders of the branches. When we did policy and we went to the provinces, we engaged. I mean, we got robust. These are people who are professional. Some of them are expertise in various fields. I'm confident that we'll have some level of rational discussions in the commissions.
You took over ETC in the middle of its term, fair enough.
Yes.
However, it's also been a tumultuous term in terms of energy, ESCOM specifically. And one of the big questions that I would often find from NEC members themselves is that it didn't seem that whoever you deployed as a party to government was coming back to report back to the ANC sufficiently, to see what was happening. In fact, the stage 6, when it hit us first time around, ANC, NEC members were surprised. And one would have imagined those who are in the governing party deploying people to serve would have an idea of what's coming and at least prepare the country. It always felt disjointed. Am I fair in that reading?
No, it's not correct. Whoever says that they were not, everybody.
So you often had.
Look, let's get things straight. All of us must learn to be on our lane. That's it. NEC has subcommittees. In the subcommittees, that's where we process things. Now, not everything gets to be in the NEC discussion. You can imagine. NEC doesn't sit every week. So when things happen, for example, as the chair of the committee, I'd get to be briefed. So I would be on the loop of what is happening,
so
what
then
are
it was
the challenges.
your fault that they didn't know that stage 6 was coming?
No, it's not my fault. it's the issue. Tshidi, this is how the ANC operates. If the fact that we are going to want to be operational as members of the ANC is going to be a problem, the ANC and leaders, it's about policy.
Yes.
So when a minister communicates from government to say there is a load shedding stage, they're communicating to all of us because it's not a policy issue. The problem we have today is wanting to cross the line as a party to be operational, to be implementers. That's a dangerous lane to cross. Our responsibility as ANC NEC is to say we pass the policies and we give it to our deployed cadres to go and implement. And our cadres, we must allow them and trust them enough to be able to do what is right for the movement. Communicating, that communication when they issue it out is talking to all of us. So none of the members of the NEC can say they didn't know there's load shedding. There was communication.
So many did. Yet so many did.
No, it was communicated.
I have interviews where they're like, we're surprised. We didn't know from our deployee that this was coming.
No, I think it's unreasonable. It's
they're liars.
They must
ultimately
not micromanage government. It's not how ANC operates. Deployees must not be micromanaged. They must be allowed to run. For example, if you can ask, because it shouldn't be only on ESCOM. Yes. Can they say that I need to come every time there are floods to tell them that there are floods there? As Minister of Human Settlements, this is how it can't. When do I get to deal with the floods if I have to come and report every day? You convene meetings because we'll spend time in meetings rather than solving the problems.
That's fair enough. I want to move away from that because I know the time is running out. I see your delegates are going back into plenary. Let's speak about your campaign. You are not on the ballot as yet. Anything is possible. They have an opportunity to raise names from the floor in the conference. You need 25% of the delegates gathered here in order to meet threshold. Your name might come up today. It might be proposed, might come up. Do you think you have enough, you've built up enough support to amass the 25% support to get on the ballot? How has that been going? Because I don't think that's ever stopped the conversations about whether or not you can become, the first deputy president of the ANC. President.
No, look, the conversations have not stopped. They continued. As you say, 25% on the floor is not an easy thing. It's not something that you take for light. And as well, when you reach to conference, as much as the guidelines wanted to avoid the caucuses, but you can see already by nature now, there's now lineups between the two caucuses. So to gather the support for 25%, I don't think it's an easy thing. We'll see on the floor if it does happen. But currently where we're sitting, the numbers are not yet there at 1.2. It's actually 1,200 that you need to reach 25%. And also in terms of both the caucuses, doesn't seem to be supportive of that because they're more focused on those who have qualified on the ballot. So it's that difficulty that you have. But for me, Tshidi, this journey has been lessened. There are lessons that learned, but also it's something that I don't regret having done. If given an opportunity, I'll do it again. And I'll tell you because we live in a patriarchal society. We have an organization that is more patriarchal. The rules have been set. Women are at a disadvantaged position. But having raised our hands was to say we are here. We're not going to be cowards. We're not going to be, intimidated and whatever the consequence that might be, we prepare to face it because we believe it's the right thing to do. And for me, this journey that I've traveled has been quite a lot, not only within the NC. Obviously, women raised their hands, and many of us not met the threshold. And outside, even in terms of support, we'll continue to fight on the floor for women representation. As I said previously, it's not only about me. We can't continue to have the NC in this manner, where women are relegated to deputy chairperson, deputy secretary general position. It's uncalled for. It's wrong. And we have to say it, and some of us are prepared to say it on the floor, and call on the conscience of delegates to remember that 60% or more than 60% of the population is women in this country.
That's an important point that you're raising. As a woman myself in the media industry, I was quite saddened, and I think I've expressed it quite often, that the ANC nominates really only 2 women made the cut, and in deputy positions, they're fighting enough for deputy position. I understand the women want to now go deputy secretary position. The women are now trying to go for broke, saying actually we want to see 50-50 even in the top 6. I almost feel like that came out too late, that conversation. It's an important one. There might be people who say, but the top six is not a structure, and they might want to remedy it with having a top seven. However, I still feel this should have been bolted a long time ago, and not just by you as an individual, but women as a collective in the ANC.
Yeah, I think we missed a lot of voices. If the voices were more, not just one person, and to a certain extent, that's why I say I've been now labeled a rebel, which is a title I wear with pride, by the way. The fact that they can say that, it means we disrupted. But the issue for me, if we had more voices that came out to say this can continue, perhaps it would have been different. But secondly, one of the things I also take for responsibility is that many of us should have pushed for a constitutional amendment. We missed that opportunity, because if we did that, it would force this conference to elect 50% of the women. And those who argue, top six, or the officials of the NC, it's a decision-making structure. We often, as the NEC in this term, had to refer matters to the top six for discussion. Now, that's the platform where women's voice is missing, and we can't continue. I mean, the nomination and election of the mayors were interviewed by the officials. Women's voice is missing there, and that's why we can't continue like that. So the fight on the plenary will definitely take it up. On gender representation, it can be. But again, what I want to call for Tshidi is also society, because we don't stand and support women. There are women who raised their hand in the ANC, but you couldn't find business people who were willing to support them. They prepared and willing to support the men in the ANC because they don't believe in women. So it's a two-way. There is no way you can contest and win election without resources. To call people to come and convince them together, you need money to transport them. And there are lessons from other parties, I say SWAPO and others, where they are able as an organization to pull that together and say women contest, and they give it. That's why they could have a secretary general who's a woman. So we're looking forward with envy. We're looking at them with envy to say, oh wow, they've got, we're the oldest liberation movement. We've not made those strides.
I need to wrap up a little bit. There's so much I actually want to pick up, but I know I'm running out of time. My complaint about the women in the ANC is avail yourselves for conversations. I have a podcast, Politicking with Tshidi Madia, and we can't get you. It's a struggle to get women to agree to an interview, and once agreed, to actually sit in the room with you. I think that is also part of the problem, is you've got to be able to come as boldly and fast as the men in your party to put forward their politics. That voice is also missing there. That's my 5 cents. My parting shot to you. What kind of ANC leaves here? Who does it leave with as a president? And what would it mean, the different faces? You have two leading candidates, Cyril Ramaphosa, Ezweni Mkhize. What would the different leadership mean for the party going forward? You've got 2024 to worry about. But most importantly, you've got to try and recapture the imagination of South Africans who every day lose faith in the governing party.
Tshidi, the rules still stand. We are not allowed to decampaign anyone. I'm going to speak about the candidate that I support. I support President Ramaphosa, as I've been open about it, and I do believe that he will make it, and I'm looking forward to him returning, being second term. One, to be able to assist us in rebuilding the organization. He started the work around renewal of the organization. He started the work in terms of rebuilding and reconstructing the economy of our country. And I do believe that work needs to continue. We've seen green shoots in terms of our quarter reports, third quarter, GDP and labor survey, showing some level of green shoots, and that needs to be sustained to rebuild the economy, get people out of poverty, and get people to thrive in terms of their entrepreneurial skills and their opportunities, but also get jobs. That's my support for him, and I do believe he's the right man to do that.
All right, thank you so much. That's NEC member, head of the Economic Transformation Subcommittee of the ANC, Mmamoloko Kubayi, showing some of her thoughts on the sidelines of the ANC's 55th National Conference. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again some point today to give you more updates and to bring in more leaders as they speak about what their hopes are for this conference and the way forward. Remember, we are also on TikTok, Eyewitness News SA. For Eyewitness News, my name is Tshidi Madia.